Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Dhyahet Sarva Vignopashantahe. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhi Tamastu Mavet Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजानन महर्निशं अनेकदन्तं भक्तानां एकदन्तमुपास्महे श्री महागणपतये नमः गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा श्री महासरस्वत्यै नमः उमा कोमलहस्ताब्ज संभावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं वेट्रिवेल मुरुगनुक्कु हर हरोहरा लोकवीर्यं महापूज्यं सर्वरक्षाकरं विभुं पार्वती हृदयानन्दं शास्तारं प्रणमाम्यहं स्वामिये शरणमय्यप्पा वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगदः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृते कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः श्री गुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं चक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വിണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി ഏതീനു മന്യനെ കുംഭീരേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കന്നായി കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the class. Okay, we'll do a quick review of 91. Sindhuji, can you do 91 review?
Sure. ഓം ശ്രീകൃഷ്ണായ പരബ്രഹ്മണേ നമഃ. ശ്രീകൃഷ്ണത്വത്പദോപാസനമഭയദമം ബദ്ധമിഥ്യാർത്ഥദൃഷ്ടേഃ മർത്യസ്യാർത്ഥസ്യ മന്യേ വ്യവസരതി ഭയം യേന സർവാത്മനൈവ. യത്താവത്ത്വത്പ്രണീതാനിഹ ഭജന വിധീൻ ആസ്തിതോ മോഹമാർഗേ ധാവന്നപ്യാവൃതാക്ഷസ്കലദിന കുഹജിത് ദേവദേവാഖിലാത്മൻ. ഭൂമൻ കായേന വാചാ മുഹുരപി മനസാ ത്വദ്ബല പ്രേരിതാത്മാ യദ്യത് കുർവേ സമസ്തം തദിഹ പരതരേ ത്വയ്യ സമർപ്പയാമി. ജാത്യാബീഹ ശോഭാഗഃ ത്വയി നിഹിതമനഃ കർമ്മവാഗീന്ദ്രിയാർത്ഥ പ്രാണോ വിശ്വം പുനീതേ നതു വിമുഖമനാസ്ത്വത്പദാദിപ്രവർയഃ. ഭീതിർനാമദ്വിതീയാത് ഭവതി നനു മനഃ കൽപ്പിതം ച ദ്വിതീയം തേനൈകാഭ്യാസശീലോ ഹൃദയമിഹ യഥാശക്തി ബുദ്ധ്യാ നിരുന്ധ്യാം. മായാവിദ്ധേതു തസ്മിൻ പുനരപി ന തഥാ ഭാതി മായാധിനാദം തം ത്വാം ഭക്ത്യാ മഹത്യാ സതതമനുഭജന്നീശ ഭീതിം വിജഹ്യാം. ഭക്തേരുത്പത്തിവൃദ്ധി തവ ചരണജുഷാം സംഗമേനൈവ പുംസാം ആസാദ്യേ പുണ്യഭാജാം ശ്രിയ ഇവ ജഗതി ശ്രീമതാം സംഗമേന. തത്സംഗോ ദേവ ഭൂയാൻ മമ ഖലു സതതം തന്മുഖാദുന്മിഷദ്ഭിഃ ത്വന്മാഹാത്മ്യപ്രകാരൈർഭവതി ജസുദൃഢാ ഭക്തിരുദ്ധൂതപാപാ. ശ്രേയോ മാർഗേഷു ഭക്താവധിക ബഹുമതിർജന്മ കർമാണി ഭൂയോ ഗായൻ ക്ഷേമാണി നാമാന്യപി തദുഭയദത് പ്രദ്രുതം പ്രദ്രുതാത്മാ. ഉദ്യദ്ധാസ കദാചിത് കുഹജിദഭിരുദൻ ക്വാപി ഗർജൻ പ്രഗായൻ ഉന്മാദീവ പ്രനൃത്യൻ ഐ ഗുരു കരുണാം ലോകബാഹ്യശ്ചരേയം. ഭൂതാന്യേതാനി ഭൂതാത്മകമപി സകലം പക്ഷിമത്സ്യാൻ മൃഗാദീൻ മർത്യാൻ മിത്രാണി ശത്രൂനവി യമിതമതിസ്ത്വന്മയാന്യാനമാനി. ത്വത്സേവായാം ഹി സിദ്ധ്യേൻ മമ തവ കൃപയാ ഭക്തിദാർഢ്യം വിരാഗസ്ത്വത്തത്വസ്യാവബോധോ ബിജഭുവനപദേ യത്നഭേദം വിനൈവ. നോ മുഹ്യൻ ശത്രുടാദ്യർഭവസരണി ഭവൈഃ ത്വന്നിലീനാശയത്വാത് ചിന്താസാദത്യശാലീ നിമിഷലവമപി ത്വത്പദാദ പ്രകമ്പഃ. ഇഷ്ടാനിഷ്ടേഷ്ടു തുഷ്ടിവ്യസന വിരഹിതോ മായികത്വാവബോധാത് ജ്യോത്സ്നാഭിസ്ത്വന്നഹേന്തോഃ അധികശിശിരിതേനാത്മനാ സഞ്ചരേയം. ഭൂതേഷ്വേഷു ത്വദൈക്യസ്മൃതി സമധിഗതൗ നാധികാരോധുനാ ചേത് ത്വത്പ്രേമ ത്വത്കമൈത്രീ ജഡമതിഷു കൃപാ ദിക്ഷു ഭൂയാദുപേക്ഷാ. അർച്ചായാം വാ സമർച്ചാ കുതുകമുരുദര ശ്രദ്ധയാ വർദ്ധതാം മേ ത്വത്സംസേവീ തദാ വിദ്രുതമുബലപദേ ഭക്തലോകോത്തമത്വം. ആവൃത്യ ത്വത്സ്വരൂപം ക്ഷിതിജലമരുദാദ്യാത്മനാ വിക്ഷിപന്തി ജീവാൻ ഭൂയിഷ്ടകർമാവലി വിവശഗതീൻ ദുഃഖജാലേ ക്ഷിപന്തി. ത്വന്മായാമാഭിഭൂന്മാമൈ ഭുവനപദേ കൽപ്പതേ ത്വത്പ്രശാന്ത്यै ത്വത്പാദേ ഭക്തിരേവേത്യവദദൈ വിഭോ സിദ്ധയോഗി പ്രബുദ്ധഃ.
One correction. So, 9th stanza, 3rd line, last word. Tat prashanti.
Oh, did I say Twat Prashanti?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Prashanti. Dukkhanyalokya jandushvalamudida vivegohamajarya varyad labdhva todrupa tattvam gunacharita gadadyudbhavat bhakti bhuma. Mayamenam taritva paramasukamaye tvatpade modidahe तस्यायं पूर्वरङ्गः पवनपुरपदे नाशया शेषरोगान्. श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
Very nice. Do you have it by heart almost or not yet?
Oh, no.
No. I just it looks like you
To chant is so
practice really
difficult.
well. No, very nicely said. So
Thank you.
okay, so we'll start with 92. Anandji, you can be a student for the first half, and Vani Garu, you can be a student. Okay. Second, Aarti and Narayan, you can be student. Okay. Okay. So this is Bhakti Yoga combined with Karma Yoga, right? So there's going to be a little bit of where he's going to talk about both of them together. The previous stanza was all about the path to devotion. So here is about Karma Mishra Bhakti Swarupa Varnam. So mixed with Bhakti mixed with Karma. So stanza 1. Vedhai sarvani karmani aphala parataya varnitani iti buddhva tani tvayarpitanye vahi samanucharan yani naishkarmyamisha ma bhut vedhai nishidhye kuhachidapi manah karma vacham pravrittir durvarjam chedavaptam tadapi khalu bhavatyarpahe chit prakashe. He says in the Vedas, they have described all the things, rituals, activities you need to perform, right? For getting the various benefits and for getting the various pleasures and all of those things. But he says, even in the Vedas, what people don't realize is they have said is that is not the ultimate goal. You first have to start there because that is easy to entice people to say, you do this, you get this benefit. People can relate to it. So even the Vedas are saying the same thing. You perform all these activities, you'll get this benefit. But the ultimate goal of the Vedas also is a union with God. So liberation, right? And for that, you cannot have any of this good and bad, any of this karmas attached to you. So he says, just like even though the Vedas have said that you have to go beyond this, he says, even then, every single thing that I'm doing, he says, I want to completely dedicate it to you. Whatever I'm doing for the Vedas, even though they have said the first ones are for pleasure, he says, I don't need any of those benefits. I completely dedicate all of that to you. Then second part, he says that even by accident, even by mistake, through mana, through my mind, through my karma, through my action, through my vacha, through my words, if I make accident mistakes in what the Vedas are saying, so I say Vedas wrong, or they're telling me instructions to perform in one way, but I'm doing it in a different way, right? So I do some things which are forbidden by Vedas. He says, first, may I not do any of those mistakes, even accidentally. So first, bless me so I don't make those mistakes. Two, even if I make those mistakes, he says, even then, Bhavati, I'm going to dedicate that to you. So that way, I am not bound by any of those karmas, right? So that's essentially the essence of what he's saying here is whatever I am doing, I'm completely dedicating it to you. Even when I'm doing the Vedas, I make mistakes. Even then, I'm devoting to you because at the end of the day, you cannot have any of those good or bad things attached to you to attain liberation. So he says, I don't want the benefits, nor do I want any of the mistakes associated with it. So Veda is Sarvani Karmani. So you have that Ya there. In and a ya, right? So we're going to strike the in and a ya and first make it a ni. So karmani, then a comma. Next word starts with the a then. Aphala parataya varni taniti buddhva, comma. Tani tvayarpitanyeva. That's one word. So remember the word arpitam. So tani tvayarpitanyeva hi samanucharan, comma. Yani naishkarmyamisha. Naishkarmya. So karma is action. Naishkarmya means no action. So may not be bound to the result of the action. May not be bound to action. That's what he's saying. Naishkarmyamisha. Vedhai sarvani karmani aphala parataya varnitani iti buddhva tani tvayarpitanye vahi samanucharan yani naishkarmyamisha.
Vede sarvani karmani abhalaparataya varnitani buddhva tani tayyarpitanyeva hi samanucharan yani naishkarmyamisha. Vede sarvani karmani abhalaparataya varnitani buddhva तानि तय्यार्पितेनेव हि समनुचरन् यानि नैष्कर्म्यमीश.
The second line, second word, Tvayyarpitanyeva.
Okay,
Tvayyar.
I said tayyarpita.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
वेदैः सर्वाणि कर्माणि अफलपरतया वर्णितानीति भूत्वा तानि त्वय्यर्पितान्येव नेवाहि समनुचरन् यानि नैष्कर्म्यमीश. वेदैः सर्वाणि कर्माणि अफलपरतया वर्णितानीति भूत्वा तानि त्वय्यर्पितान्येव वहि समनुचरन् यानि नैष्कर्म्यमीश.
मा भूत वेदैर निषिद्धे कुहचिदपि comma manaha, put a ich sound, manah karma vacham pravritti, and then put a plus there. So and then you say the ir from the next word together. Pravrittir durvarjam chedavaptam, and then put a comma. So one comma after kuhachidapi in the third line, and then plus at the end, and then after chedavaptam, comma tadapi khalu bhavatyarpaye chit prakashe. Ma bhut vedhairnishidhe kuhachidapi manah karma vacham pravrittir durvarjam chedavaptam tadapi khalu bhavatyarpaye chit prakashe.
मा भूद्वेदे निषिद्धे कुहचिदपि मनः कर्म वाचां प्रवर्तिर्दुर्वर्जं चेदवाप्तं तदपि खलु भवत्यर्पये चित्प्रकाशे. मा भूद्वेदे निषिद्धे कुहचिदपि मनः कर्म वाचां प्रवर्तिर्दुर्वर्जं चेदवाप्तं तदपि खलु भवत्यर्पये चित्प्रकाशे.
Third line, last word, pravrittir, vr sound.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, the manah karma vacham, after that the word, right? You said pravattir is pravrittir.
Pravartir.
Yeah.
Pravartir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
मा भूद्वेर वै sorry मा
Bhut vedair.
मा भूद्वेदैर्निषिद्धे कुहचिदपि मनः कर्म वाचां दुर्वर्जं चेदवाप्तं तदपि खलु भवत्यर्पये चित्प्रकाशे. मा भूद्वेदैर्निषिद्धे कुहचिदपि मनः कर्म वाचां दुर्वर्जं चेदवाप्तं तदपि खलु भवत्यर्पये चित्प्रकाशे.
ராஜேஷ், ஒரு குவிக் கொஸ்டின். எனக்கு அந்த மா பூத் வேதை இருக்குல்ல, அங்க வந்து ரெண்டு நா வருதே, அது எப்படி சொல்லுவேன் நீங்க அந்த ரெண்டு நாவ?
ரெண்டு நா வராது அங்க. You should either have ma bhut vedhaihi nishiddhe or you should have vedair nishiddhe. You should not have two nas.
ஓகே, நீ மேல ரெண்டு நா இருக்கு என்னோட புக்ல.
Okay, then just adjust that, right? So it's ma bhut vedair ir sound, vedair nishiddhe.
Okay, சரி.
Okay. Answer 2. Yastvanyah karma yogah tava bhajanamayastattra chabhishtamurtim hridyam satvaika rupam drishadi hridi mridikvapi va bhavayitva pushpair gandhair nivedhyairapi cha virachitaihi shaktito bhakti putaihi nityam varyam saparyam vidadadhai vibho tvat prasadham bhajeyam. So in the first stanza, he spoke about the karmas as told by the Vedas, right? That was the first part. So here he's talking about the karmas as said in the Tantra Margam. So using the Agama Shastra, like, you know, how you make the idol, right? You make it with the 8 substances, and then there are certain ways of worshipping the idol that you actually have. So he says now, first after the Veda Margam, now he's coming to the Tantra Margam, and he say that let me perform the worship through the tantra margam, through how you're supposed to do idol worship, right? And then by doing that, I'm going to then worship you. And in addition to that, he says that your pure sattvic form, I'm going to imagine. One is to actually worship you with the physical idol. Second is, if I don't have the idol, then he says I'm going to imagine that pure sattvic form of yours, either in my hridi, in my heart. I'm going to just imagine you. Either hrishadi means either the form of a stone. So I'm going to imagine a stone form of yours, or mridi, or a clay form of yours. So either way, stone or clay, I'm going to imagine your pure sattvic form. And then I'm going to worship you with pushpai gandhai nivedhya, with flowers, with gandha means with fragrances, and nivedhyam with naivedyams. And by doing that, yata shakti, that is the important thing. He says, I'm going to pray to you according to my strength. Whatever offerings I can give it to you, I can going to pray according to that. And by this way, I am going to then get your grace. So he's saying the multiple ways. So whether I'm doing it in the karma, in the according to the Veda, that karma form, or in this case, through pure agama worship, through worship of idols. So either way, he says, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to get more attached to you and get blessed by you. So yes, tvanyaha is there. Put a ih sound. Yes, tvanyah karma yogaha. So that is there. Remove that. Put a visarga and a comma. Karma yogaha, comma. Tava bhajana mayas tatra chabishta murtim, comma. Hridyam satvaika rupam, comma. Drishadi hridi mridi kwapi va bhavayitva. Yes, tvanyah karma yogaha tava bhajanamayas tatra chabhishtamurtim hridyam satvaika rupam drishadi hridi mridi kwapi va bhavayitva.
यस्तन्यः कर्मयोगः तव भजनमयस्तत्र चाभीष्टमूर्तिं हृद्यां सत्यैकरूपा दृशति हृदि मृदि क्वापि वा भावयित्वा. यस्तन्यः कर्मयोगः तव भजनमयस्तत्र चाभीष्टमूर्तिं हृद्यां सत्यैकरूपा दृशति हृदि मृदि क्वापि वा भावयित्वा.
यस्त्वन्यः कर्मयोगः तव भजनमयस्तत्र चाभीष्टमूर्तिं हृद्यां सत्त्वैकरूपां दृशति हृदि मृदि क्वापि वा भावयित्वा. यस्त्वन्यः कर्मयोगः तव भजनमयस्तत्र चाभीष्टमूर्तिं हृद्यां सत्त्वैकरूपां दृशति हृदि मृदि क्वापि वा भावयित्वा.
Pushpair gandhair nivedhyair api cha virachitaihi, comma, shaktito bhakti putaihi. Put a visarga there and a comma. Bhakti putaihi. Next line, that ir goes away on top of nityam. Just nityam varyam saparyam vidadha vidadhadai. So there is three das coming there. Da coming. First da, second da, third da. So vidadhadai vibho, comma. Tvat prasadam bhajeyam. Pushpair gandhair nivedhyair apicha virachitaihi shaktito bhakti putaihi nityam varyam saparyam vidadhai vibho tvat prasadam bhajeyam.
पुष्पैर्गन्धैर्निवेदैरपि च विरचितैः शक्तितो भक्तिपूतैः नित्यं वर्यां सपर्यां विदधदधै विभो तत्प्रसादं भजेयम्.
So that line, Anuji, if the vidadhadai, three, right? I think you said four or something like that.
विदधदै.
Yeah, correct. Then tvat prasadam.
पुष्पैर्गन्धैर्निवेदैरपि च विरचितैः शक्तितो भक्तिपूतैः नित्यं वर्यां सपर्यां विदधदै विभो त्वत्प्रसादं भजेयम्.
पुष्पैर्गन्धैर्निवेद्यैरपि च विरचितैः शक्तितो भक्तिपूतैः नित्यं वर्यां सपर्यां विदधदयि विभो त्वत्प्रसादं भजेयम् पुष्पैर्गन्धैर्निवेद्यैरपि च विरचितैः शक्तितो भक्तिपूतैः नित्यं वर्यां सपर्यां विदधदयि विभो त्वत्प्रसादं भजेयम्
Answer 3. स्त्रीशूद्रास्त्वत्कथादिश्रवणविरहिताः आसतां ते धयार्हाः त्वत्पादासन्नयातान् द्विजकुलजनुषो हन्त शोचाम्यशान्तान् प्रीत्यर्थं ते यजन्तो बहुकथितमपि त्वामणाकर्णयन्तो दृप्ता विद्याभिजात्यैः किमु न विदधते तादृशं मा कृता माम्. So he says again, Bhattacharya when he wrote this, right, he's talking about his times. So he says, women, Stri, Shudraha, people of lower caste. So they are, it's very unfortunate, right? They have to be pitied or sympathized, he says, because they do not get as many opportunities as everybody else to be able to come and listen to all your great things, right? So, maybe ladies could not go out of the house. They used to have restrictions to leave the house. So they could not go attend, other saptangams or anything. So whatever the restrictions were there. So he says, I really pity, I feel very sorry for all these people because they are not able to get as much access to you to be able to listen to Tvat Katha, to listen to your great deeds and your incarnations and all your names. They are not getting as much access. So it's a very sad state for that. But he says, but even worse than that, he says, are people who are Dvija Kula Janusha, people who are born on the higher caste. So Dvija Kula means twice born, the Brahmins. So upper caste people. He says these upper caste people, although they have access to all of these things, have access to you, access to the knowledge, access to the information, what they are doing is they spend their time because they keep doing all these things to make a livelihood. So he says when they have access, they're supposed to pray to you, they're supposed to perform all these activities to attain you. Instead, they do all this for money, number one, he says, right? And number two is because they are more knowledgeable. So they, of course, they're being very arrogant that they are upper class birth and they're also arrogant in their behavior. So because of which they are actually wasting the chance that they actually got, which others don't have access to, right? And then he also kind of says, Kimuna Vidadate, and because of this access to this, because they think they are great, what all misdeeds do they not do? So here, and then he says at the very end, which is kind of him saying, which means when we chant, we are also saying it. He says, please, Ma Kritama, make sure I don't become like them. Right. So he says, I have access. We all have access to information. We all have access to money. We all have access to other things. So essentially, this is a prayer to say, make sure that I don't misuse the access I have and I'm using it in the right way to be dedicated, to be devoted to you and not get arrogant with this and lose this opportunity. 3 Shudras Tvat Kathadi Shravana Virahitaha. Put a visarga there. Most books may not have it. Put a visarga there and a comma. Virahitaha. Asatam te dayarhaha. Another visarga and a comma at the end of that line. Next line, that is that you have, that goes away. So, Tvat pada sanna yatan dvija kula janusho. And then a comma. Hanta Shochamya Shantan. That's one word. Shochamya Shantan. Stri Shudras Tvat Kathadishravana Virahitaha Asatam te Dhayarhaha Tvat Pada Sannayatan Dvijakula Janusho Hanta Shochamya Shantan.
स्त्रीशूद्रस्त्वत्कदादिश्रवणविरहिताः आसतां ते दयार्हाः त्वत्पादासन्नयादान् द्विजकुलजनुषो हन्दशोचाम्यशान्तान् स्त्रीशूद्रस्त्वत्कदादिश्रवणविरहिताः आसतां ते दयार्हाः त्वत्पादासन्नयातान् द्विजकुलजनुषो Handa Shojamya Shandan.
स्त्रीशूद्रास्त्वत्कदादिश्रवणविरहिताः आसतां ते दयार्हाः त्वत्पादासन्नयातान् द्विजकुलजनुषो हन्तशोचाम्यशान्तान् स्त्रीशूद्रास्त्वत्कदादिश्रवणविरहिताः आसतां ते दयार्हाः त्वत्पादासन्नयातान् द्विजकुलजनुषो हन्तशोचाम्यशान्तान्.
ராஜேஷ் இது சாந்தானா சாந்தானா கடைசியில இந்த end of the
Shantan. Shantan.
ஓகே இன்னொருத்துல சான்னு கொடுத்துருக்கு ஷான் லோ
Yeah, first Sha. Shantan. Shanti. Odisha. Shantan.
ராஜேஷ் அங்க அந்த இஸ் சேர்த்துக்கணும் போட்டுக்கணுமாக்கா? சூத்ரா த்வத்கதாதிக்கு நடுவுல இஸ் வருமா?
Is irukku. Ama Shudras.
Okay.
If you have Shudraha, then you can just replace it with this. Some books already have this. Brityartam te yajanto, comma, bahu khatitamapi tvam anakarnayanto. If you want to break it, or you can say it together. Tvam anakarnayanto, comma, dripta vidyabi jatyaihi. Is there? Put a ichs on. Jatyaihi. So vidyabi jatyaihi kimu na vidadhate, comma, tadrisham ma kritamam. Brityartam te yajanto bahukatitamapi tvamana karnayanto dripta vidyabhijatyaihi kimuna vidadhate tadrisham ma kritamam.
कृत्यर्थं ते यजन्तो बहुकथितमपि त्वामनाकर्णयन्तो दृप्ता विद्याभिजाते किम न विदधते तादृशं मा कृता माम् वृत्त्यर्थं ते यजन्तो बहुकथितमपि त्वामनाकर्णयन्तो दृप्ता विद्याभिजाते किम न विदधते तादृशं मा कृता माम्
प्रत्यर्थं ते यजन्तो बहुकथितमपि त्वामनाकर्णयन्तो दृप्ता विद्याभिजातैः किमु न विदधते तादृशं मा कृता माम्.
Mani Garu, that jatyaihi in the fourth line, right? You just put a ich sound to join it. Vidyabi jatyaihi.
जात्यैः किमु न विदधते.
Yeah.
Okay. वृत्त्यर्थं ते यजन्तो बहुकथितमपि त्वामनाकर्णयन्तो दृप्ता विद्याभिजातैः किमु न विदधते तादृशं मा कृता माम्.
And so forth. Papohyam Krishna Rametyabhilapati Nijam Guhitum Duscharithram Nirlajjasyasya Vacha Bahutara Kataniyani Me Vignithani Bhrata Me Vandyashilo Bhajati Kila Sadha Vishnumittam Budhamste Nindantyucchair Hasanti Tvai Nihitamatin Tadrisham Makritamam. So he says there are a lot of people in this world who are not devoted to you, but who actually end up ridiculing, all right, and try to censuring people who are very devoted by saying the following things, right? So and he then kind of says a few things that people might say. He says one is they say that these people, or by these here I mean people who are devoted, so they might say, hey, all these people who are devoted, they always know they are actually they're very wicked people, and they just keep saying Chuma and Rama Krishna. That's why it says Rama Krishna Rame. They just keep saying Rama and Krishna because all they are trying to do is they're trying to hide their misconduct, right? So they might put blames like this on me, saying that these people are all saying it only because inherently they're very wicked, but they're just saying Rama and Krishna to hide their misconduct. And because they're always saying these things, right, I'm not able to, go and tell anything useful to these people. They don't listen to me anyways. The bad people, other people might say. And they may also say that, and even your own family, he says, even your own family might come in and say that, my brother, he says, Bhrata me. So my brother is a hypocrite, right? That he just actually goes and does all these bad things, but then he conceals himself. because he's always Vishnumayam, he's always praying, so he just hides it, right, and puts a different perspective on things and hides it. But behind the scenes, he is actually giving he's completely different person. See, they might say all these things, but he says, number one, may these things not distract me from focusing on what I'm supposed to do, and two, don't make me like them. So tadrisham ma kritamam, don't make me like those people who are going and ridiculing others who are actually praying. Because if you remember in the previous chapter also, he said one of the prayers was that I need to treat everybody the same. There are people who might agree with me, there are people who might not agree with me, my friends, my enemies, the Pakshi Matsyan Mrigadin, right? He said everything should be treated equal, even though you may or may not agree with them. So that's what he says. There could be a lot of people who might ridicule me by saying this. Number one, may not get distracted, and number two, may not become like them either. Right? So that's the prayer in this. So Papoyam Krishna Rametyabhilapati. So that's one word, Rametyabhilapati, comma, Nijam Guhitum Duschcharitram, comma, Nirlajjasyasya. So double j, ij and a ja coming there. Nirlajjasyasya vacha, comma, Bahutara Kathaniyani me Vignitani. Short e, Vignitani. Papohyam Krishna Rametyabhilapati Nijam Guhitum Duschcharitram Nirlajjasyasya vacha Bahutara Kathaniyani me Vignitani.
Papoyam Krishna Rametyabhilapati Nijam Guhidam Duschcharitram Nirlajjasyasya vacha Bahutara Kathaniyani me Vignitani. Papoyam Krishna Rametyabhilapati Nijam Guhidam Duschcharitram Nirlajjasyasya vacha Bahutara Kathaniyani me Vignitani.
Papoyam Krishna Rametyabhilapati Nijam Guhitum Duschcharitram Nirlajjasyasya vacha Bahutara Kathani Yani me Vignitani. Papoyam Krishna Rametyabhilapati Nijam Guhitum Duschcharitram Nirlajjasyasya vacha Bahutara Kathani Yani me Vignitani.
Bhrata me Vandya Shilo Bhajati Kila Sada. So this is what my family also says, right? Bhajati Kila Sada. You're always in prayers, you're always engaged in prayers or doing other classes. That's what he says. Bhrata me Vandya Shilo. He's just hiding. He is such a bad person. He's just covering it by just praying all the time. So Bhajati Kila Sada, comma, Vishnu Mitham Bhudamste, comma, Nindhantyuchair. So Nindhantyuchair Hasanti Twai Nihita Mateen. So you'll have a is there. Mati is tadrusham. So remove that is, put a in there. Mateen, comma. So Nihita Mateen, comma. Next word, that is goes away. Tadrusham ma kritamam. Bhrata me vandyashilo bhajati kila sadha Vishnumitham budham ste Nindantyuchair hasanti Tvai nihita mateen Tadrisham ma kritamam.
Rajesh, Nindantyuchai rather.
Nindhantyuchair. In and it are coming there. Nindhantyuchair.
Radha me Vandyashilo Bhajati Kila Sadha Vishnumidham Budhamste Nindhantyuchair Hasanti Tvai nihitamadin Tadrisham Akritamam. Radha me Vandyashilo Bhajati Kila Sada Vishnumidham Budhamste Nindhantyuchair Hasanti Tvai nihitamadin Tadrisham Akritamam.
Bhrata me Vandhyashilo Bhajati Kila Sada Vishnumittam Budhamste Nindantyuchair Hasanti Tvai Nihitamatin Tadrisham ma Kathamam. Bhrata me भ्राता मे वन्ध्यशीलो भजति किल सदा विष्णुमित्तं बुधांस्ते निन्दन्त्युच्चैर्हसन्ति त्वयि निहितमतीन् तादृशां मा
Tadrisham. Sorry, go ahead.
तादृशं मा कथां माम्.
Stanza fine. श्वेतच्छायं कृते त्वां मुनिवरवपुषं प्रीणयन्ते तपोभिः त्रेतायां सृक्सृवाध्यङ्कितमरुणतनुं यज्ञरूपं ह्यजन्ते सेवन्ते तन्त्रमार्गैः विलसदरिगदं द्वापरे श्यामलाङ्गं नीलं सङ्कीर्तनाध्यैरिह कलिसमये मानुषास्त्वां भजन्ते. So he's telling the various yugas how, what is the mode of worship and what is the form of the Lord in the worship. So first he says in Krite, in the Krita Yuga, right? The people worship you through tapobihi, through meditation. So meditation was the primary mode of worship of people in the Krita Yuga, in the first Satya Yuga. And then your form was Shweta Chayam, means in pure white color. They used to worship you as a pure, in pure white form, Munivara Vapusham, right? In the form of like a white sage. So you were in the pure white form and everybody used to meditate on you. That was the primary mode of worship in the Satya Yuga. Then in the Treta Yuga, they used to worship you through Yajante, through Yajna. That was the primary mode of worship in the Treta Yuga. And they used to worship you Yajna Rupam. They used to worship you as the Yajna itself, right? So that was that means like we were talking, I think maybe in some other class, right? That so the primary, there were people who thought that offering, doing homam and doing yajna is the primary purpose. So everything was surrounding that, around yajna, right? So that's where, even in, I think the Narayaneeyam we saw, right? I don't know if this we covered, that Yajwa Patni, maybe not. It comes in 61, 62 or something. So where they also believe in purely just doing actions through yajna, right? So that was the one mode of worship that they were called Purva Mimamsas. That was their name. So they used to only believe that there's no God, but only yajna. So similarly, he says, but some people used to then believe that yajna itself, you are the yajna itself, right? And then to you, they used to then worship you through suksru. Suksru means the one which you are holding to put ghee during the Purnahuti, right? When you have a long wooden ladle and then you take another one and you put ghee on it, right? So it's called sruk and sru. Those are the two words for it. So they used to worship you through those in the form of yajna rupa, and then used to be in bright red color because yajna fire, right? So that is in red color. So that was the mode of worship there. Then in the Dwapara Yuga, then the mode of worship, he says, changed into Tantra Margaihi, through Tantra Margam, to idol worship, some of those also started. And people used to worship you in Shyamalangam, in a light blue color form of yours, with Ari and Gadam, with sword and mace. So with the Astram and Shastram, they used to worship you and used to be in a light blue form. And then in the Kali Yuga, people worship you with Neelam, in a dark blue shade. So in the Dwapara Yuga, light blue, now it has become, they worship you in a dark blue color. And the primary mode of worship here is Sankirtanadhyehi, through saying your various names. That is the mode of worship here, right? So there's no, less yagam, less meditation, less tantrams and everything. It's purely by saying your name and praising you through Nama Sankirtan. That is the mode of worship in Kali Yuga. That is how people have been worshipping you in the various yugas. So Shweta Chayam Krite Tvam Munivara Vapusham, Prina Yante Tapobihi. Put a visarga there and comma, Tapobihi. Next line is goes away. Tretayam Sruksruvadhyankitam. Sruk, ik sound comes there. Sruksu sru. It's Sruksruva. That's the next one kind of has to come together. So Sruksruvadhyankitam arunatanum yajna rupam yajante. So there's no pause in the second line. The whole thing comes together. Okay. Sruksruvadhyankitam arunatanum yajna rupam yajante. Shwetachayam krite tvam munivaravapusham preenayante tapobihi tretayam sruksuvadhyankitam arunatanum yajna rupam yajante.
चेदच्छायं कृते त्वां मुनिवरवपुषं प्रीणयन्ते तपोभिः त्रेतायां शुश्रुवाद्यङ्कितमरुणतनुं यज्ञरूपं यजन्ते चेदच्छायं कृते त्वां मुनिवरवपुषं प्रीणयन्ते तपोभिः त्रेतायां शुश्रुवाद्यङ्कितमरुणतनुं यज्ञरूपं यजन्ते
श्वेतच्छायं कृते त्वां मुनिवरवपुषं प्रीणीयन्ते तपोभिः त्रेतायां सृक्सुवाद्यं कितमरुणतनुं यज्ञरूपं यजन्ते श्वेतच्छायं कृते त्वां मुनिवरवपुषं प्रीणीयन्ते तपोभिः त्रेतायां सृक्सुवाद्यं कितमरुणतनुं यज्ञरूपं यजन्ते.
Small connection. First line, prinayante. I think prini you said. First line. Okay.
Yeah.
Sevante tantra margaihi. So visarga under comma. Tantra margaihi. Then on top of that V, there is a ir that goes away. Vilasadarigatam. Vilasadarigatam. Gadam. Dvapare shyamalangam, comma. Neelam sankirtanadhyairiha. Sankirtanadhyairiha kalisamaye, comma. Manushas tvam bhajante. Sevante tantramarghaihi vilasadharigadam dvapare shyamalangam neelam sankirtanadhyairiha kalisamaye manushas tvam bhajante.
सेवन्ते तन्द्रमार्गैः विलसदरिगदं द्वापरे श्यामलाङ्गं नीलं सङ्कीर्तनादैरिह कलिसमये मानुषास्त्वां भजन्ते सेवन्ते तन्द्रमार्गैः विलसदरिगदं द्वापरे श्यामलाङ्गं नीलं सङ्कीर्तनादैरिह कलिसमये मानुषास्त्वां भजन्ते
सेवन्ते तन्त्रमार्गैः विलसदरिगदं द्वापरे श्यामलाङ्गं नीलं नाद्यैरिह कलिसमये मानुषास्त्वां भजन्ते सेवन्ते तन्त्रमार्गैः विलसदरिगदं द्वापरे श्यामलाङ्गं नीलं सङ्कीर्त्यनाद्यैरिह कलिसमये मानुषास्त्वां भजन्ते.
The third, you said it correct only, but in the third line, the vilasadharigatam, if you are not able to say that, the way to break it would be vilasat arigadam.
Okay.
That's the right way to break it. Okay, gadam is this thing. Ari is the discus, right? So chakram. So it's vilasat arigadam if you are not able to say it. Okay. All right. So we'll just switch. So I think it was Narayaneeyam and Arti, right? 6. Okay, stanza 6. Sohyam kalheya kalo jayati muraripo yatra sankirtanadhyehi niryatnaireva margairakilada nachirat tvatprasadam bhajante jatastreta krita dhavapihi kilakalau sambhavam kamayante daiva tatraiva jatan bishaya bisharasairma bibho vanchayasman. So he speaks about the various mode of worship in the various 4 yugas. He says, Soyam Kaleya Kalo. You know what? This Kali Yuga, among all these 4 yugas, he says the Kali Yuga is the best, right? He says because, if you think of all the other yugas, so people had to meditate underwater for 10,000 years, and they have to stand on 1 feet for 1,000 years. They have to perform 1,000 yajnas and all that. So here he is in Kali Yuga, life is so simple. He says because you can attain liberation very easily by just sankirtanadhyehi, by just chanting and singing your names and your activities. That is sufficient. Nobody is expecting you to do 1,000 years of tapas or being underwater like everybody did. It's very easy to attain this, to the extent that even the people who are born in the other yugas, they actually wish they were actually born in the Kali Yuga because it is the easiest way to attain liberation. However, he says, the problem is right now is there are so many other distractions and sensory enjoyments which are there in Kali Yuga. So he prays, Bhatripad is praying here that you please make sure that I am not tempted by these other distractions and other sensory enjoyments which come in Kali Yuga. So that is the other problem with it, is while the access to you is very easy, it's very easy by just saying your name. At the same time, there are a lot of other distractions and sense enjoyments which are there. So may I not get distracted by it and not lose this opportunity that I have right now, which is very easy to obtain you in Kali Yuga. This is because of all these things, Kali Yuga is the best, he says. So soyam kaleya kalo jayati muraripo, comma, yatra sankirtanadhyehi. So visarga at the end, sankirtanadhyehi, comma. Next line on top of the ni, if you have a ir, that goes away. But there's a ir over ya also, right? So niryat naireva marghairakhilada, comma, na chirat tvat prasadam bhajante. Sohyam kaleya kalo jayati muraripo yatra sankirtanadhyehi niryatnaireva marghairakhilada nachirat tvat prasadam bhajante.
Soyam kaleya kalo jayati muraripo yatra sankirtanadhyaihi niryatnaireva margairakilada nachirat prasadam bhajante. Soyam kaleya kalo jayati muraripo yatra sankirtanadhyaihi niryatnaireva margairakilada nachirat prasadam bhajante.
Soyam kaleya kalo jayati muraripo yatra sankirtanadhyaihi niryatnaireva margairakilada nachiratvat prasadam bhajante. Soyam kaleya kalo jayati muraripo yatra sankirtanadhyaihi niryatnaireva margairakilada nachiratvat prasadam bhajante.
Jatas treta kritadhavapi hi kila kalau, comma, sambhavam kamayante, comma, daivat tatraiva jatan, comma, vishaya visha rasair ma vibho vanchayasman.
Rajesh, திருப்பி இந்த ஜாதாஸ் த்ரித கிருதத
Jatas treta kritadhavapi.
தௌ கிடையாதா?
If you,
தமிழ்ல கொஞ்சம் different.
so what you have kritadau api, right?
ஆமா.
Okay, so the au and a becomes va, avladhan. Okay, or so you just write as kritadavapi.
தா இழுக்கணுமா தாவா?
இல்ல, first da, so a comes, kritadavapi, double a, so krita ph then dh, kritadavapi.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, especially உங்களுக்கு வந்து தாக்கு அப்புறம் you would have had wow, right? Wow and then api, and the wow and api becomes vapi, அவ்வளவுதான். So kritadavapi.
Okay.
அப்புறம் he kila kalau, அது correct.
Correct. அவ்வளவுதான். That's all. It's just two words. When it's written as one word, then that's the sandhi rule, அவ்வளவுதான். Au plus a becomes va. That's it.
ஒரே ஜாதாஸ் த்ரேதா sorry, சொல்லுங்க. ஒரே வாட்டி சொல்லிடுங்களேன்.
Yeah. Jatas treta kritadavapi.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Jatas treta kritadavapi kila kalho sambhavam kamayante daivat tatraiva jatan vishaya visharasairma vibho vanchayasman.
Jatas treta kritadavapi kila kalau sambhavam kamayante daivat tatraiva jatan विषय विशरसैर्मा विभो वञ्चयास्मान् जातास्त्रेता कृता धावपि हि किल कलौ सम्भवं कामयन्ते दैवा तत्रैव जातान् विषय विशरसैर्मा विभो वञ्चयास्मान्
जातास्त्रेता कृता धावपि हि किल कलौ सम्भवं कामयन्ते दैवा तत्रैव जातान् विषय विशरसैर्मा विभो वञ्चयास्मान् जातास्त्रेता कृता धावपि हि किल कलौ सम्भवं कामयन्ते दैवा तत्रैव जातान् विषय विशरसैर्मा विभो वञ्चयास्मान्.
Stanza 7. Bhaktastavat kalau syuhu dramila bhuvi tato bhurishastatra chochaihi kaverim tamraparnim anukila kritamalam cha punyam pratichim hamamappetadantarbhavamapi cha vibho kinchidanchadrasam tvayasha pashairnibadhya brhamayana bhagavan purayatvanishefam. See, then he says, so continuing with the Kali Yuga, he says, in Kali Yuga, there is going to be like a lot of devotees for you. Bhaktas tavat kalosi. For you, you're going to have a lot of devotees in Kali Yuga. And he says the majority of the devotees are going to be in the Dramila Bhuvi. So what is that referring to? Which region? Dramila Bhuvi. Shubhadra, mute little.
Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, the Dramila is the Dravida area. So southern part, right? Southern part, because on the Samitla, maybe it was all mixed, right? When
Yeah.
Andhra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it was
more of Alvargal. He's
correct.
referring to all
Yes,
Alvar.
yes. So he says it's all in the southern part. The southern part, the Dramila Bhuvi, is going to be the place where there's going to be an abundance of devotees. And he says even there, it is primarily going to be around the banks of Kaveri, Thamraparni, Kritamala. Kritamala is a Vaigai river.
Right.
Is around the banks of those rivers, right? And on the more on the western side of the Dramila Bhuvi and all, he says is where the majority of the devotees are going to be there in Kali Yuga. And then he says, oh, by the way, I am also blessed. So this, he's saying, I'm also blessed that I am actually born there too, he says, right? I'm also born in that southern part. I'm also born in the western side. So I'm indeed blessed to be being born in that region of the world, right? Where there's an abundance of devotees. However, he says, make sure that Asha Pasha Nibadya. Pasham means rope also. So Asha is a desire. So make sure that I'm not bound by the ropes of desires which actually come, and then make sure that I'm again, like the last stanza itself, that you're not losing the opportunity given, right? He says, one, I'm born in Kali Yuga where things are easy. Two, I'm actually born in the Dramila Desham where there's an abundance of devotees. But at the same time, make sure I'm not getting attached to all these other sensory things and getting pulled by the ropes of desire, and I'm getting fully devoted to you. And I remain committed in that devotion to you.
Rajesh ji, how many years is one yuga?
So it depends, right? So the way it goes is, it's Kali Yuga is 1x, then the Dwapara Yuga is 2x, 3x, 4x. Okay, that is the thing it goes. So 4,432,000 years is Kali Yuga.
Okay.
Okay, and then when you go to the Dwapara Yuga, it's 2 times that. So 8,64,000, and that is 117 whatever, right? You kind of, it essentially it's 1, 2, 3, 4 x.
Okay.
Okay, so the Treta Yuga, the first Yuga is like 4x of it. So 432 times 4.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Bhaktas Tavat Kalau Syuhu. Remove the ir on top of the dra and then put a visarga and a comma. Syuhu, comma. Dramila Bhuvi Tato Bhurishas Tatra Chochaihi, comma. Kaverim Thamra Paranim Anu Kila. If you want to break it, Thamra Paranim Anu Kila Kritamalam Cha Punyam Pratichim. So that second line, there's no pause. Bhaktas tavat kalau syuhu dramila bhuvitato bhurishastatra chochaihi kaverim tamraparnim anukila kritamalam cha punyam pratichim.
Bhaktas tavat kalau syuhu द्रमिलभुवि ततो भूरिशस्तत्र चोचैः कावेरीं ताम्रपर्णीम् अनुकिल घृतमालां च पुण्यां प्रतीचीम्. करेक्टா சொன்னேனா?
Yeah, yeah.
भक्तास्तावत् कलौ स्युः द्रमिलभुवि ततो भूरिशस्तत्र चोचैः कावेरीं ताम्रपर्णीम् अनुकिल घृतमालां च पुण्यां प्रतीचीम्.
भक्तास्तावत् कलौ स्युः द्रमिलभुवि ततो भूरिशस्तत्र चोच्चैः कावेरीं ताम्रपर्णीम् अनुकिलकृतमालां च पुण्यां प्रतीचीम्. भक्तास्तावत् कलौ स्युः द्रमिलभुवि ततो भूरिशस्तत्र चोच्चैः कावेरीं ताम्रपर्णीम् अनुकिलकृतमालां च पुण्यां प्रतीचीम्.
Ha mam apyetadhantar. If you want to break it, you can break it that ma. Ha mam apyetadhantar bhavamapi cha vibho, comma, kinchit anchadrasam. So the that is there. That's actually, I think, I don't know if I said that. He says that, although I am born there and I have some devotion, that's why he says kinchit. So Bhakti was saying, I have some devotion there, right? So kinchit anchadrasam, then put a plus at the end of that line. Okay. So kinchit anchadrasam tvai asha pashair. In case you have tvai asha, okay, if you have it as two words, then you can just join it. Tvai asha pashair nibhadhya bhramaya na bhagavan, comma, puraya twan nishevam. So one comma after bhavam apicha vibho in the third line, then plus, and then bhramaya na bhagavan, comma, puraya twan nishevam. हामामप्येतदन्तर्भवमपि च विभो किञ्चिदञ्चद्रसं त्वय्याशा पाशैर्निबध्य भ्रमयन भगवन् पूरय त्वन्निषेवाम्.
அந்த த்வைக்கு அப்புறம் ஒரு காமா இருக்கா?
இல்ல, त्वय्याशा पाशै, that
சேர்த்தா படிக்கணும்.
that plus, yeah.
ஆமாம் அப்யேததந்தர்பவமபி ச விபோ கிஞ்சிதஞ்சத்ரசம் த்வய்யாஷா பாஷைர்நிபத்ய பிரமயன பகவன் பூரய த்வன்னிஷேவாம். ஹாமாம் அப்யேததந்தர்பவமபி ச விபோ கிஞ்சிதஞ்சத்ரசம் த்வய்யாஷா பாஷைர்நிபத்ய பிரமயன பகவன் பூரய த்வன்னிஷேவாம்.
हामामप्येतदन्तर्भवमपि च विभो किञ्चिदञ्जद्रसं त्वय्याशापाशैर्निबध्य भ्रमयन भगवन् पूरय त्वन्निषेवाम्. हामाम् अप्येतदन्तर्भवमपि च विभो किञ्चिदञ्जद्रसं त्वय्याशापाशैर्निबध्य भ्रमयन भगवन् पूरय त्वन्निषेवाम्.
Stanza 8. दृष्ट्वा धर्मद्रुहं तं कलिमपकरुणं प्राङ् महीक्षित् परीक्षित् हन्तुं व्याकृष्टखड्गोऽपि न विनिहतवान् सारवेदी गुणांशात् त्वत्सेवाध्याशु सिद्ध्येत सदिह न तथा त्वत्परे चैष भीरुः यत्तु प्रागेव रोगाधिभिरपहरते तत्रः शिक्षयैनम्. So here in this stanza, this is talking, is kind of creating a personification of Kali as an individual, right? Kali Yuga as an individual, and says when Parikshit was there, so that was the transition, right? When after Krishna passing away, or not passing away, Krishna leaving the world is the transition between Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga, right? So at that time, Parikshit again is coming at that time where Bhagavatam was written, at the transition period. So when the transition was happening and Kali Yuga was starting, so Parikshit, when he saw Kali, means not physically see Kali, but means saw the activities had started, that it was a transition to Kali Yuga. So Parikshit then Khadga, he took his sword and then he went off, he decided to go get rid of Kali, because he said Kali Yuga is so bad, there's so many atrocities are going to happen. So he was about to get rid of Kali itself. So at that time he was told not to do that. because he said Kali Yuga could be, if you, depending on how you use it, it could be a blessing in disguise, right? So that's why he says here, the good deeds you perform, you get instant benefits. That's why it says that, all the good deeds you are actually performing, Ashu Siddhi, you will get immediate benefits. However, all the bad deeds you are performing may not get immediate results. It might actually get delayed, right, in Kali Yuga. So he says it could be again to your benefit or not your benefits, however you look at it. So he said that's one of the things. And then also he says in Kali Yuga that Kali itself is very afraid of your devotees. So anybody who's committed to you, who's devoted to you, right? The bad effects of Kali, or the sense other, essentially what you're saying, the bad effects of Kali is all the other distractions, right? Will not come to you and you'll remain in a good way. However, he says, while Kali is good in all these things, but is praying that Krishna, you should punish Kali if he takes away your devotees because of diseases, right? So that's why he says, Yattu prageva roghat abhirapaharate. So when your devotees are, when somebody is devoted to you, but the devotee falls sick, and then Kali decides to take the devotee away early, right? Then you should actually punish Kali here, because he himself is suffering, right? So he says, I'm devoted to you, but I'm suffering through this, right? And so make sure that I don't get taken away so early when I'm still being devoted to you. So if Kali does that, then you should punish Kali. Otherwise, there's no need of punishing Kali. It's actually a good period, right, for us to focus on what we want to do. So, drishtva dharma druham tam kalim apakarunam, comma, prang mahikshit parikshit. So, put the it at the end of that line. So, prang, ing sound, prang mahikshit parikshit, comma. Next word, if you have a double the, remove that off, just put a ha. Hantum Vyakrishta khadgopi na vinihatavan, comma, saravedi gunamshat. Drishtva dharmadruham tam kalimapakarunam prang mahikshit parikshite hantum vyakrishta khadgopi na vinihatavan saravedi gunamshat.
दृष्ट्वा धर्मद्रुहं तं कलिमपकरुणं प्राङ्महीक्षित् परीक्षित् हन्तुं व्याकृष्टकद्गोपि न विनिहतवान् सारवेदी गुणांशात्. அந்த இடத்துல அந்த லைன் எந்த இடத்துல பாஸ் பண்ணணும் ராஜேஷ்? ஹந்தும்
after vinihatavan.
दृष्ट्वा धर्मद्रुहं तं कलिमपकरुणं प्राङ्महीक्षित् परीक्षित् हन्तुं व्याकृष्टगत्कोऽपि न विनिहतवान् सारवेदी गुणांशात्.
दृष्ट्वा धर्मद्रुहं तं कलिमपकरुणं प्राङ्महीक्षित् परीक्षित् हन्तुं व्याकृष्टखड्गोऽपि न विनिहितवान् सारवेदी गुणांशात्.
Vinihatavan, second line.
Okay, vinihatavan, hitavan.
Hata, okay. Hata, kill. So vinihatavan.
दृष्ट्वा धर्मद्रुहं तं कलिमपकरुणं प्राङ्महीक्षित् परीक्षित् हन्तुं व्याकृष्टखड्गोऽपि न विनिहतवान् सारवेदी गुणांशात्.
Tvat sevadhyashu siddhyet asadiha. The easier way to say that would be that siddhyet, id, the that you have, make it a it and a a. Then you can break it. Or you can say it together as well, but it will be easier to say siddhyet asadiha na tatha, comma, tvatpare chaisha bhiruhu. So visarga at the end of that line and a comma, bhiruhu. Next line on top of that ya, if you have the ir, you can remove it. Yattu prageva roga dhibira paharate. So that it's got multiple words mixed in it. Rogat ibir apaharate and all that stuff, but you can just say it together. Roga dhibira paharate, comma, tatra ha shikshayenam. Tvatsevadhyashu siddhyet asadihana tatha tvatpare chaisha bhiruhu yattu prageva rogadhibirapharate tatraha shikshayainam.
त्वत्सेवाद्याशु सिद्ध्येत् असदिहन तथा त्वत्परे चैषबीरुः यत्तु प्रागेव रोगादिभिरपहरते तत्रः शिक्षयैनम् त्वत्सेवाद्याशु सिद्ध्येत् असदिहन तथा त्वत्परे चैषबीरुः यत्तु प्रागेव रोगादिभिरपहरते तत्रः शिक्षयैनम्
त्वत्सेवाद्याशु सिद्ध्येत् असदिह न तथा त्वत्परे चैष बीरुः यत्तु प्रागेव रोगादिभिरपहरते तत्रः शिक्षयैनम् त्वत्सेवाद्याशु सिद्ध्येत् असदिह न तथा त्वत्परे चैष बीरुः यत्तु प्रागेव रोगादिभिरपहरते tatraha shikshayainam.
At the end, the fourth line, the roga dibir paharate, pa, first pa. Okay. Stanza 9. So this is an important stanza. You can mark it and keep, for reference for the future. Ganga Gita cha ghayatrapi cha tulasika gopika chandanam tate salagrama bhipuja Parapurusha tathaikadashi nama varnaha etanyashtapya yatnanyapi kalisamaye tvatprasada pravridhya kshipram mukti pradhani ityabidhadurishayah teshumam sajjayetha. So when somebody comes and asks, what are the top simple, I don't want to do a lot of these things. What are the top 8 things instead of top 10? What are the top 8 things I need to do, right? During the Kali Samaye, during the time of Kali, right? Which will lead me to Tvat Prasada, which will lead me to your devotion more, which will get me your grace more, which will lead to liberation more. What are the top 8 things that the rishis have said? So Bhattacharya is saying the 8 things, right? He says one is Ganga, which means bathing in the Ganges, right? So access to Ganges. So number 2 is Gita. Gita is referring to Bhagavad Gita. So learning Bhagavad Gita, the meaning of what it says, chanting Bhagavad Gita. Gayatri, so saying the Gayatri mantra. Tulasika, so worshipping with Tulasi, so Tulasi leaves. Gopika Chandanam, it's just referring to a type of sandalwood, right? So praying with sandalwood or doing alankaram with sandalwood. Salagrama puja, so worshipping with the Saligramam, right? With that thing. Then Parapurusha Thatai Kadashi, so fasting for Ekadashi. And Nama Varnaha, right? Which is a Nama Sankirtanam. So when I was teaching one of this class, somebody said, what, I don't have access to Ganges. I don't know Bhagavad Gita. And one of the female lady student, she said, okay, I can't chant Gayatri. And Chicago, I don't get Tulasi either. And I don't know what this Gopika Chandanam is. I don't have access to that either. Salagrama Puja, even that I don't have Salagramam. I don't know how to do puja with it. And Ekadashi fast, to forget it, right? It's never happening. I'm never able to do it. So I said, okay, that's fine. But there's one last one, which is easy, right? Nama Varnaha, that you can always do, right? So it says these are the 8 things which Bhattacharya says that if you do, or you have as possible, if you do these 8 things, you stick to these 8 things, then in the Kali Samaya, these are the easiest way to obtain more of your grace and more of your devotion, as said by the Rishayaha, Abhidadu Rishayaha, the Rishis have said these are the best way. So then he says, oh Lord, make sure that I'm completely devoted to all of them. So he says, Bhattacharya is requesting, and as you are chanting, you're saying that get me access to all of these things, right? So that is the thing. And even I am not been to Ganga, but I was supposed to be in Haridwar this weekend, but that's got pushed to next weekend. So hopefully I'll get to go to Ganga for the first time. But anyway, so as whatever we can in this list, right? Even if you can't do anything, at the very end, Nama Varnaha is there, which we anyways are doing. So that should take care of it. So Ganga, Gita, cha Gayatriyapi, cha Tulasika, comma, Gopika Chandanam Tate, comma, Salagrama puja, comma, Parapurusha Tathaikadashi, Tata Ekadashi, but it joins together. So Tathaikadashi Nama Varnaha.
Rajesh, இன்னும் ஒரே ஒரு வாட்டி எங்கெங்க கமாண்ட் மட்டும் திருப்பி சொல்லிடுறேன்.
And the first line after Tulasika, and then end of that line, Tat, then Salagrama Bhi Puja. Adukapram.
Okay, thank you.
Ganga Gita cha Gayatrapi cha Tulasika, Gopika Chandanam Tathe, Salagrama Bhi Puja, Parapurusha Tathaikadashi Nama Varnaha.
Ganga Gita cha Gayatrayapi cha Tulasika, Gopika Chandanam Tat, Salagrama Bhi Puja, Parapurusha Tathaikadashi Nama Varnaha.
Narayani, and the first line like Gayatriyapi, the tra is a half tra, right? So Triyapi, not Triyapi.
Oh, Trapi.
Yeah.
Trapi. Okay, அது இடத்துல கொஞ்சம் கன்ஃபியூஷனா தான் இருந்தது. Trapi. Ganga Gita cha Gayatrapi cha Tulasika, Gopika Chandanam Tat, Salagrama Bhi Puja, Parapurusha Tathaikadashi Nama Varnaha.
Ganga Gita cha Gayatrapi cha Tulasika, Gopika Chandanam Tat, Salagramapi Puja, Parapurusha Tathaikadashi Nama Varnaha. Ganga Gita cha Gayatrapi cha Tulasika, Gopika Chandanam Tat, Salagramapi Puja, Parapurusha Tathaikadashi Nama Varnaha.
Ethan Yashtapya Yatnanyapi, comma, Ethan Yashtapya Yatnanyapi, comma, Kali Samaye Tvat Prasada Pravridhya, comma, Kshipram Mukti Pradhanityabhidhaduhu. That word comes together. Pradhanityabhidaduhu is there, put a ir to join it. So Dadhur, okay, Mukti Pradhanityabhidadur Rishayaha. That is there, remove it, put a Visarganda comma, Rishayaha, comma, Teshu Mam Sajjayetaha. Ethanyashtapya Yatnanyapi Kali Samahe Tvat Prasada Pravridhya Kshipram Mukti Pradhanityabhidadur Rishayaha Teshu Mam Sajjayetaha.
Etan Yashtapya Yatnanyai Kalisamaye Tvatprasada Pravridhya tane?
Pravridhya, yeah.
Pravridhya Kshipram Mukti Pradhani Abhidadur Rishayaha Teshu Mam Sajjayetaha.
So one more correction on the third line, like some of you have Yatnan Yayi, right? Change it to Yapi. That ya, the first third line, first word. Etan Yashtapya Yatnan Yapi. Pa.
Yapi, okay.
Yeah, some books have Yayi. It's actually a Yatnani Api also. So
okay. கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமா தான் இருக்கு. திருப்பி ட்ரை பண்ணுங்க.
I just tried. I'll tell where you're. Yeah.
Etan Yashtapya Yatnanyapi Kalisamaye Tvatprasada Pravridhya Kshipram Mukti Pradhani Yabhidadudu. அது எப்படி பிரிக்கிறது?
There's two das there, right? After the D, there are two das there. So Mukti Pradhani Yabhidadur. Dadur.
Mukti Pradhani Yabhidadur Rishayaha Teshu Mam Sajjayetaha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Etan Yashtapya Yatnanyapi Kalisamaye Tvatprasada Pravridhya Kshipram Mukti Pradhanitya Bidadurushayaha Teshu Mam Sajjayetaha. Etan Yashtapya Yatnanyapi Kalisamaye Tvatprasada Pravridhya क्षिप्रं मुक्तिप्रदानीत्यभिददुर्ऋषयः तेषु मां सज्जयेताः।
Sunset time. देवर्षीणां पितॄणामपि न पुनरिणी किङ्करो वासभूमन् योऽसौ सर्वात्मना त्वां शरणमुपगतः सर्वकृत्यानि हित्वा तस्योत्पन्नं विकर्माप्यखिलम् अनुपदस्येव चित्तस्थितस्त्वं तन्मे पापोत्ततापान् पवनपुरपतेरुन्धि भक्तिं प्रणीयाः. Says everybody who's born is indebted to three people. One is you are indebted to the gods, right? By indebted means like you have to do certain karma activities to the gods. The way to do that is by performing the yajna and all those things, which is offerings to the gods, right? And then you are indebted to the rishis. So the rishis have created the Vedas and all these things. So our debt to them is that we have to preserve those Vedas and we have to chant it and learn it and preserve those in whatever ways we can contribute to it. And the third is to your ancestors, right? So that's why when you do the tarpanam, you do pitru tarpanam to your ancestors and rishi tarpanam to the rishis, right? So and then deva tarpanam, deva patni and all that it goes. But anyway, those three main in a debt that you actually have. So yeah, Bhadripat says is many people, we are not able to fulfill our debts because we are not able to do a lot of these things. However, he says whoever is Sarva Krityan, who gives up everything and is completely devoted to you and has taken refuge in you, the debt that they have to all these people will go away. So because that is one way, either you kind of stick to all the karma that you have to do, or you say you completely wholeheartedly takes refuge in you, thereby they cease to owe any debt to all these three people. And even then, like we said earlier also, when you are residing in somebody's heart, wholeheartedly residing, even if they do things by mistake, all of those get eradicated because they're doing it with sincere devotion. So, O Lord of Guruvayur, please eradicate all the sorrows which I've got due to the sins I've committed. At the same time, Rundi Bhaktim Praniyaha, please also confer on me supreme devotion. So with this is ends.
Who is the second indictment we have?
So first is all the gods, right? The devas, right? So that's why we perform the yajna. When we perform to Agni and all that, right? The yajna we're performing, right? So that is the number one gods. Second is to the rishis. To the rishis who have actually created all the Vedas and who have given us a lot of the scriptures and Upanishads and everything, right? So the rishis, we are indebted to them. And the third is to your ancestors, right? So when people perform tarpanam, they perform three. The tarpanam, one is to the gods, Deva tarpanam, Deva rishi, then the Deva patni tarpanam they do. Rishi patni, rishi and rishi patni also. And then to your ancestors, right? Your father's side, your mother's side, all of that you perform. So those are the three debts that we have. Devarshinam pitrunamapi na punaha, put a ir sound again, punar rini kinkaro vasa bhumanne. So no pause there, goes continuously. Kinkaro vasa bhumanne, comma, yosau sarvatmana tvam sharanam upagataha. That is there, remove it, visarga and a comma, upagataha, comma, Sarva Krityani Hitva. Devarshinam Pitrunam Apina Punarini Kinkaro Vasa Bhumanne Yosau Sarvatmana Tvam Sharanam Upagataha Sarva Krityani Hitva.
Devarshinam Pitrunam Apina Punarini Kinkaro Vasa Bhumanne Yosau Sarvatmana Tvam Sharanam Upagataha Sarva Krityani Hitva. Devarshinam Pitrunam Apina Punarini Kinkaro Vasa Bhumanne Yosau Sarvatmana Tvam Sharanam Upagataha Sarva Krityani Hitva.
देवर्षीणां पितॄणामपि न पुनरुणी किङ्करो वासभूमन् योऽसौ सर्वात्मना त्वां शरणमुपगतः सर्वकृत्यानि हित्वा. देवर्षीणां पितॄणामपि न पुनरुणी किङ्करो वासभूमन् योऽसौ सर्वात्मना त्वां शरणमुपगतः सर्वकृत्यानि हित्वा
Tasyotpannam vikarmapyakilam. So that ma that is there, we'll pause there to make it a im. So vikarmapyakilam, comma. Next word starts with a a. Anupadas eva chitta stitas tvam, comma. Tanme papotha tapan, comma. Pavanapurapate rundhi bhaktim praniyaha.
Rajesh, இது அபனுதவா அனுபதம்?
Oh, apanudas. What did I say?
Anupada.
Oh, sorry. Vikarma pyakilam apanudas eva.
Okay. Thank you. No worries.
Tasyotpannam vikarma pyakilam apanudas eva chitta sthitasthvam tanme papottathapan pavanapurapathe rundhi bhaktim praniyaha.
तस्योत्पन्नं विकर्माप्यखिलम् अपनुदस्येव चित्तस्थितस्त्वं तन्मे पापोततापान् पवनपुरपते रुन्धि भक्तिं प्रणीयाः.
In the fourth line, papotatapan, kapram pause. And then pavanapurapate.
पापोततापान्. Okay. तस्योत्पन्नं विकर्माप्यखिलम् अपनुदस्येव चित्तस्थितस्त्वं तन्मे पापोततापान् पवनपुरपते रुन्धि भक्तिं प्रणीयाः.
तस्योत्पन्नं विकर्माप्यखिलम् अपनुदस्येव चित्तस्थितस्त्वं तन्मे पापोततापान् पवनपुरपतेरुन्धि भक्तिं प्रणीयाः. तस्योत्पन्नं विकर्माप्यखिलम् अपनुदस्येव चित्तस्थितस्त्वं तन्मे पापोततापान् पवनपुरपतेरुन्धि भक्तिं प्रणीयाः. श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
End the class here.
Rajesh,
Go ahead.
Vikarmapyakilam abanuda, right?
Apanudas eva.
Okay.
Apanudas eva.
Rajesh, ஒரு quick question. இப்போ இந்த எல்லா பக்தி இதுக்கும் அந்த சாந்திரானந்தா டியூன் தான் வருது. அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்டோட சாப்டர் டியூன் தான் வருது. Is there any specification of all the bhakti margams only this tune would happen or?
Yeah, I think it's just the 4-liners, right?
Okay.
And the 4-liners are one tune. Like the next one is Bandhu Sneham Vijahyam Tavahi Karun. Like all of that, the 4-liners are all the same tunes.
Okay. Now I thought the bhakti margamla separate பண்ணிட்டு அந்த டியூன் கொண்டு வந்திருக்காரோ.
இல்ல நம்ம அந்த even ராமாவதாரம் நரசிம்மாவதாரம் எல்லாம் அதே சேம் டியூன், ரைட்?
Okay. சரி.
ஆனா அந்த மீட்டர்ல அந்த
மீட்டர் தான் சந்தஸ், அவ்வளவுதான்.
எவ்வளவு அளவு இருக்கு
அவ்வளவுதான். It's just purely based on the meter, the chandas of the chapter.
Okay.
Okay. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam कालधेशावदेभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.